Have you ever wondered where racehorses come from? Behind every champion on the racetrack lies a world of breeding, bloodlines and bold dreams.
Welcome to the Bloodstock Files, where we uncover the stories, the skills and the science that shape the future of horse racing.
Coming up in this episode, we get incredible behind-the-scenes access with the team at Yorton Farm, home to world champion racehorse Cracksman and the Flutter family.
And we speak to multiple Group 1 winning owner-breeder Kirsten Rousing at her Lanwades Stud, home of the Stallion's Study of Man and See the Moon.
And we're back at Park Paddocks in Newmarket for the Tattersalls July Sale, where we speak to young up-and-coming auctioneer Thomas Connolly, among some of the other key players at the sale.
He's certainly got the soldiers on the ground, and I hope they get to work for him and show what a great stallion he is.
So this is quite literally his first meal in life.
Yeah. And he's enjoying it.
And then she said, oh, I don't want to fall now, someone is here. But she normally will fall in the next 24 hours then anyway.
I've been unbelievably fortunate to have had 2 horses of a lifetime.
It's a sales ground like no other, I think. For me, it's the most famous sales ring in the world.
Yorton Farm Stud is Britain's fastest growing national hunt breeding operation. Home to the Flutter family, this truly unique model farm in Welshpool has produced Grade 1 winners such as In the Pocket and stands several successful stallions, including Cracksman.
Dave, how would you describe yourself? Are you a stallion master, a breeder, a racing fan, racehorse owner, or all of the above?
All of the above, but not particularly good at it. Jack of all trades, master of none, I would imagine. But no, it's yeah, we do it all here, luckily, and we have a great team, and we go from foaling, purchasing mares, foaling mares, right through to purchasing the stallions and getting them onto the track. So yeah, on our own sale as well, which is seems a long time ago since it all started. Yeah,
having a Cracksman must be so exciting. Proper multiple Group 1 winner by Frankel, a very good flat stallion in his own right. You know, it's not that he was, some kind of flat cast-off. You know, in his own right, he is a very, very good stallion. Yeah,
I mean, I know exactly where I was. We'd been trying to buy him. We tried the year before. It wasn't really ready. I was in a little bar in Paris with some friends, Bertrand, myself, and Sam and Adrian Boys, and we were over at the Arc. And Richard Verne phoned me. He said, "I think the deal could be on. You need it." And that was on the Sunday. I got back on the Monday, went straight down, saw Sam. We had a conversation. We shook hands on the deal. Di kindly said he would come and get the horse board and finance it for us. And Mr. Hoppenheimer and Darley team kindly let us have him, and we couldn't believe our luck, really. It's very few stallions, Bernard, actually breed one as good as themselves, if not better. There's very few. You can look through the list, and there are stallions that do it, but very, very few do that. And he is a stallion that was a very good racehorse himself, has produced a horse equally as good, if not better, in some people's opinion. And after he covered after Ace Impact won the Arc, he then went on the next season, covered around 175 mares at Darley of real high quality. And they're only 2. And the following year again, he covered 125, and they're only yearlings. So going forward, there's still a huge amount. And I haven't got my head in the clouds, but of all the stallions I've stood, I think there is a possibility. It's stacked. He's got it stacked in his favour that it could come off, that he could produce another very good horse. And not only is Ace Impact, he's produced 24 other black type horses on the flat, and he's already now producing. He's got 2 black types on over jumps. So so he is an exciting horse.
And as you said, there's a lot of potential advertisements waiting in the wings to come through yet.
One thing Liam Cashmore told you need soldiers on the ground, and he's certainly got the soldiers on the ground. And I hope they get to work for him and show what a great stallion he is.
Okay. Good boy. Good boy. Hey, good boy. Okay, big boy, you ready? Good boy. Go, Rouse. All good. Thanks, Joe.
Oh boy! Good lad. Good boy. Good old Gilly. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good boy. Good boy. Good lad. Good girl. Good old girl. Good girl. Good boy. Good boy. Job done, lads. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. So lucky here at Yorton because Berta is here the whole time. So every single mare we cover, if it's walking's not, are scanned. So we know they're spot on. The mare's not going to get hurt. The stallion's not going to get hurt, or any of the handlers are going to get hurt. And you saw a mare there that Bert had scanned this morning, made sure she was ready, comes in. We're very lucky with Cracksman and Postponed. They're both very good teasers, and if you can tease the mares, it just, you try and get the risk element out. There's anything when you do any procedure like that with horses, there's a risk element, so you try and get the risk element out of it as much as you can. But when you're handling a horse like him with his temperament, it's brilliant.
With so much happening at Yorton, David's wife and reproductive vet Berta is an integral part of the team. We discussed the challenge of predicting which mare would foal next in the stable of the aptly named It's Probably Me.
She belongs to James and Jean Potter, our landlords, and she's due on the 23rd, but she does like to fall a bit earlier. The due date is always a bit of a random figure, so they can fall before or afterwards. And she has surprised everyone before a couple of times that there was suddenly a foal there in the morning, and she wasn't actually here with us in the foaling unit. So that's why she's already here, because we know she falls early, and she doesn't always show signs in the afternoon, and then you think, oh, she will fall tonight. So one thing she is starting is she does start to show the other development. So you can see, and you can actually feel it, that the udder gets quite firm now, and her teats are filling up. Normally you would see when they get close at the end of the teeth, there would be a tiny bit of wax to see, which would be the first milk. So you can feel that this part is all firming up and the teats are filling up as well. Normally at the end of the teats, you could see when they get closer to the foaling, a little bit of wax. So that's the milk slowly to start tripping. So what we always do, check behind the tail as well. And you can see her vagina is getting actually quite long and relaxed. And the pelvis area here starts to drop. So these are all signs that they're getting closer to falling as well. And she's got an alarm on. And so yeah, maybe she will be someone who will fall tonight. You never quite know.
To stay ahead in the guessing game that is foaling, Berta uses an alarm system.
This little machine sends signals to the receiver when there's a certain algorithm hit. And says, okay, there's a foaling in process, and then the receiver will call our foaling phone and says there's a foaling in process. So it's very helpful, and it's very reliable. You have to be quick, so often the foal's legs are already coming out when the alarm goes off, but usually it will alarm you, which is very, very good and very helpful in a busy stud world. So you turn it from the top of the tail, you've got it like this, turn it around, and then you attach it here to the tail with this very sticky tape. And then it stays here, and it will measure the position of the mare. It will measure the contractions, the body temperature, loads of different little things, what gives you then an idea that the mare is actually foaling or not. So it very, very rarely gives you a false alarm. If there's a false alarm, then often it is because we go and do something with the mare, and then she said, oh, I don't want to fall now, someone is here. But she normally will fall in the next 24 hours then anyway.
The two things I always come to mind when I think of Yorton is repeat business and family business. I mean, repeat business, it's important to you, I would imagine, that you have clients that come back every year. It's a good sign.
From the moment I started in selling, whether it was hunters and cobs and riding horses, to now the one thing you want is for people to come back. But they can't always come back every year, but you've been here with the sale for 3 or 4 years, and you see the same faces coming back. And I'd like to think they're coming back because they're enjoying the occasion, 2, they're trusting us. I mean, if you were a client and you're coming up and you said, David, I'd like lot 4, 8, 12 and better, could you tell me about it? If you come to the one man who owns them, you look them in the eye and I tell them about it, and they say, what's the reserve? I open the catalogue, show them the reserve. If they bid the reserve and no one else bids, they'll own the horse. And we're trying to get as clarity as that they can come in and buy horses here safely and buy good horses.
And of course, family business, must be so satisfying.
Wouldn't do any other way, sorry, yeah.
Kirsten Rousing is one of the most respected thoroughbred breeders and the owner of Lanwades Stud. She is a renowned stallion master, horsewoman and philanthropist.
Kirsten, we've got plenty of history to discuss here at Lanwades, but I think we first need to touch on a bit of recent news that relates to you personally, really, and that is your having been awarded a CBE in the recent King's Birthday Honours List, which I'm sure perhaps came as a surprise to you, and I'm sure was a great source of pride, perhaps.
Yes, I was completely astounded and could have been felled with the proverbial feather for sure when the news came. Obviously, I'm immensely honoured and very, very grateful, and I feel that the citation that was given with the CBE, which mentioned my services to charity, but particularly my services to equine welfare, the racing and bloodstock industry, which I was very appreciative of, because it signals an awareness of how important these issues still are to contemporary society in general.
Very much so, and just take us back, if you like, to your earliest memories of thinking, this is the life for me, your pursuit of thoroughbred excellence, if you like. I know started in your homeland and then quickly moved on to Ireland and to here.
Well, it started perhaps in the wrong roundabout way, because I started getting interested in pedigrees. And this was to do with the fact that at the time, as a young girl, I was doing a lot of 3-day eventing. And the only horses that I could afford to buy were sort of broken down racehorses with tendons and such like. Mm-hmm. And it was usually a matter, the competition was the knacker man or me. So it was the equivalent of about £400 to buy a broken down gelding. Having a horse mending from a tendon, as we all know, it takes a long time and so on. And so it occurred to me to look into the pedigree of this horse. And of course it was all completely new to me. I didn't even know the names in the pedigree and so on. And worse, most all literature was in English. Which I didn't know, but it was a good inroads, because I had to teach myself to read English so I could read it sooner than I could speak it. And incidentally, I can tell you, it's a rude shock to realise how very differently English is pronounced from the way it's spelt, at least to those of us who have to learn it. But anyway, so I got fascinated by pedigrees, and at school and so on, pretending to take notes, I was in fact writing out pedigrees from memory and so on. This did not go down well with the teachers, nor indeed my parents. I used to borrow and get given old Tattersalls December sales catalogues from the 1950s and 60s. They were historical, but to me they were news. And I read them as one would a novel from beginning to end. So I started, as mentioned, I started with the sort of more theoretical pedigree, eventually got a chance to learn more of the practical side, of thoroughbred breeding. I started out, as you mentioned, in Sweden, graduated to work in France during school holidays and so on. Very useful. One got to learn all the bad words in French. And I did yearlings. I led up yearlings in France. Eventually, I graduated to go and work in Ireland for a number of years. My great mentor, the late Captain Tim Rogers, he taught me, and I am eternally grateful to him, and of course have been great friends with his wife Sonia Rogers and son Anthony. We still work together.
With Captain Tim Rogers, I wonder really what lessons you particularly learned from him in regard to standing stallions. I mean, he's revered through the industry as one of the great stallion masters of many decades, but I wonder what lessons you took from your time at Early Stud with him.
Well, he was a great teacher. He taught implicitly, not explicitly. He would not tell you, now you must do this and that, and so on and so on. But no, that was not his way. He would act and you would observe, and then a couple of days later he would say, have you done such and such? And if not, why not? So this was a very good school, because life is like that. You don't have, in life, you don't have somebody walking ahead of you telling you exactly what to do. You have to figure it out yourself and so on. The captain, as he was known, would have pointed out that if a horse to go to stud, you need him to be correct. You need him to have performed well, and you need pedigree. And there are times when you have to give on one or other of these parameters. Sure. In my younger days, I felt the only thing I could afford to give on was performance, because it greatly influenced the valuation of the horse. I feel to this day it's quite difficult to give on conformation. You've got to have a correct horse, but then again, having said that, I must admit that some extremely incorrect horses have done well at stud, and we have one of the leading sires of the world who is less than correct today.
Down the road from Lanwades Stud lies the prolific Tattersalls sales ring, and we called in for their July sale, a melting pot of fillies, mares and horses in training. At the epicentre of every sale lies the auctioneer, and there is a new kid on the rostrum this year in Thomas Connolly.
Thomas, how have you enjoyed this July sale?
It's been brilliant, you know, the weather's been fantastic, and being able to sell up there is brilliant as well. You're selling some lovely horses, and you know, it's an international market, so it's been a joy to be here for the last 3 days selling.
Why was it auctioneering for you? What was it about auctioneering that?
I suppose I love coming to the sales, and I've grown up in the industry in the stud farm, so we've always been coming to the sales with horses. And I suppose when I was 16 I started spotting at Tattersalls Ireland in Ferry House, and ever since then I've just got the bug for it. You know, you're standing up there beside the auctioneers, and they were my heroes growing up. You know, they were your Hollands, whatever. For me, they were my heroes, and it was brilliant just to get, you know, engrossed in that atmosphere and what goes on. It's an absolute, you know, it's electrical up there. You know, there's such a buzz going through, and you see everything that's going on. You see who's bidding or what horses aren't selling, and you know, it's great to see, you know, and top class auctioneers at their best. You know, and I suppose just got the bug from there. Started listening to a lot of recordings in the car, so not much music in my car, but a lot of recordings.
Who did you listen to? Who would you have modelled yourself on?
I suppose Edmund Mahoney and Simon Kearns, you know, and Ollie Faustin. There's, you know, they'd be three I'd listen to a lot. And I'd listen to yourself a good bit actually as well. You're one of my my Spotify top wrapped in Spotify.
So when did you start auctioneering for Tattersalls?
I started in the February sale here, so I was very, very lucky. Very grateful to Edmund Mahoney and Matt Pryor especially. You know, I came over here and gave a bit of an audition, and you know, they were very good to put me up in February, and it was a huge leap of faith for them to take in me. And I mean, I just grown since then. You know, your first sale obviously is one you'll never forget, but it was great to get that done. And you know, the horses I was selling, they were grand horses to sell, and there was no big expectations, so that was brilliant. And I'd like to think I've moved on now. I sold a nice horse at the Guineas Breeze Up sale for 200,000 euros, or 200,000 guineas, so that was brilliant.
What was the adrenaline even like then?
I don't remember after 100,000 guineas. I got goosebumps and I was just going through the motions, but it was brilliant. You know, just to get that first six-figure horse was absolutely fantastic, and I would never have dreamed of having it in my second sale. You know, last year I was leading horses here through in December sales, and I never imagined I'd be here now selling horses, so it's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm extremely grateful to everyone here at Tattersalls because they're very welcoming, and to give me the opportunity I'm very grateful for.
What's the ring here at Park Paddocks like to sell in?
Oh, for me, it's the most famous sales ring in the world. You know, you see all the pictures every December in Book 1, you see all the pictures of, you know, the million guinea plus horses, and it's just it's hallowed ground really. It's a lovely ring to sell at. You know, you can see everyone pretty well. There's not too many hiding spots, so you know who's bidding, and it's brilliant, especially when the ring fills up and you know there's a sea of people around the cage and the gate where they come in, and yeah, it's a sales ground like no other. I think it's an amazing place to sell horses, and I'm very, very lucky that I've been able to sell here for the first time.
When you're not here in Newmarket, Thomas, of course, you're part of the team at Tattersalls Ireland, so no doubt this time of the year you're flat out looking at yearlings and foals, and you've just had the store sales. You must enjoy all of that side of it as well.
I absolutely love it, yeah. I mean, I've grown up in the industry. My parents, as hard as they tried to push us away from the industry, they couldn't. It's like a bug, you know, once you get the bug, you become immersed in it, and to be at Tattersalls Ireland is a real privilege, and I absolutely love doing it every day. You know, you're getting paid to talk about horses all day, which is a dream come true for me, and you're dealing with horses all the time, you're dealing with different clients. And I mean, the store sales have been brilliant. You know, National Hunt, and it's brilliant. You know, it's brilliant to have the two. It's you know, there's two sets of clients, your flat clients, your National Hunt clients, and really enjoy working with both.
One of the many clients that Thomas was selling to is Swedish trainer Ellen Arlen, helped by none other than Walter Buick.
First time at the Newmarket Tattersalls sales. I've been over in Ireland, but this is the first time here for the sales, and I absolutely love it.
And you've got a very good advisor with you as well in Walter Buick, who obviously had such a great career in Scandinavia and obviously in this country as well. I mean, he must be an invaluable source of advice.
Oh, he's fantastic. He always has time for you, and he makes you feel a bit special, and we go through everything together. And the first horse he bought for me was a complete success story, and it was actually the February sales last year here in Newmarket, and we bought her for 15,000 guineas, and she made up that money last year as well running, so it's been great so far.
Do you find horses from Britain and Ireland, these sort of horses, do they work pretty well in Scandinavia, Ellen?
You know they do. The form of the horses in Scandinavia is on the lower end, if you don't mind me saying, and if you get a horse that's half decent over here, they can do great over there. You just need to find the right type.
And that is the key to it, really, finding the right type. And I mean, there's so many horses in a sale like this, so I'm sure Walter and you have been working very hard the last few days.
We have, and you know, you look at everything, the feet, the legs, how they're moving, what kind of eyes they have. You look at everything, and yeah, you find a few golden dimples, and you go through that and see what you find.
And of course, it's one thing finding them, it's another thing buying them, and I'm sure there are times you go in and you don't get to bid or you don't get to buy because they make too much, but you have managed to secure a few?
Yeah, I bought one yesterday, a really nice filly out of Bated Breath, number 399. So she's going to come home and beef up a little bit, and she's going to be a beautiful filly for the future.
You bought Lanwades in 1980 from Colonel Nat Fries. Was it always your intention to stand stallions?
I was always interested in standing stallions, and I'd worked with stallions. When I came here, I'd worked with stallions for many years, and it was certainly my ambition, but I thought there's no way I can stand a stallion for many years because I need to build up the clientele and indeed find the finance, which was a major problem, and so I thought this will take a good few years. And then the British Bloodstock agency, with which I was certainly associated for a long time even then, they came to me and they said, Lady Beaverbrook's horse, Niniski, you know, he needs to go to start. Would you be interested? Well, I was his sire Nijinsky's #1 fan, So
Didn't have to think too hard about that.
So I said, of course I would be absolutely so interested and so on. And I was very green, young and green. And the horse had at the time won races that today would be the kiss of death. He'd won the John Porter, which is all right, the Ormond, but worse still, the Irish St. Leger and the Royal Oak, yes, which today would be probably not won by entire horses anyway. But even in those days, it was a bit questionable for a stallion career. So I managed to scrape together sufficient funds to buy one hind leg of Niniski. Lady Beaverbrook kept half of him, and we syndicated a quarter of the horse. But Lady B never really acknowledged that the horse had been sold. He was still hers in many ways. In those days we covered 42, 45 mares. He had 27 live foals, 19 named 2-year-olds, and from these he produced 2 Group 1 winners, an unbeaten champion European 2-year-old, Carla Dancer, and in the same crop, Petoskey, who won the King George, Queen Elizabeth, and beating Rainbow Quest, Oh So Sharp, and other luminaries of the time, thus making their sire, Niniski, champion first season sire of 1984. And that was absolutely marvellous and rather unexpected, I think.
Fantastic, and I'm sure gave other breeders, members of the industry, confidence in knowing that Lanwades was now on the map and could stand a stallion, and other alliances have flowed from that initial.
Yes, I've been very, very fortunate because having had only Niniski as my only stallion for a good couple of years, the legislation on VATing imported horses was changed. It was altered so that you could bring a horse into the country for 2 years minus 1 day without having to pay VAT. But it occurred to me that this legislation would apply not only to yearlings but also to older horses such as stallions. So I approached His Highness the Aga Khan's studs and asked them would they be interested in standing their French 2,000 guineas winner Nishapur with me. Because of this, he could come in for 2 years minus a day and so on. And after protracted negotiations, we agreed on this. So I stood Nishapur here originally for His Highness for 2 years, and eventually we bought him and he was syndicated, and he was a steady success without being a sort of enormously exciting one. He sired the winners of the French Derby and the French Oaks whilst he was here. And indeed, I think I'm right in saying that my 2 stallions, Niniski and Nishapur, they sired the winners of the French Derby, Hernando, and French Oaks, Shamaka, in the same year. I don't think any other Newmarket stud had 2 separate stallions producing the winners of the 2 major races, classic races in France, in the same year. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
Consignors are key players at every sale, hired to prep and present horses on behalf of vendors.
The Castlebridge consignment is easily one of the biggest outfits at any of the sales in Europe every year, including here at Park Paddocks for the July sale. I'm joined by Patrick Diamond. Patrick, how long have you been part of the team here now at Castlebridge?
Yeah, this will be my 5th year anyway, so Castlebridge are going about 20 odd years now, so it's built from small drafts to big drafts, and it's continuing to grow, and I'm 5 years here and we're still going.
At a sale like this, I mean, it's mainly horses and training, so I would imagine most of your clients on the vendor side are pretty much trainers and owners.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is a mixed sale, but predominantly a horse in training sale. So we've got our regular trainers that sell with us, and then we've got a few that dot in and dot out depending on numbers. But we've got the trainers like John Gosden, George Bowie, Joseph have been very good, Hugo Palmer, Archie Watson. So we've got a great bunch of core people that use us regularly, and we try and sell as well as we possibly can for them. And we've also got new people coming into the fold as well.
You've had quite a few good results through the ring this week, including a Gina. Tell me a little bit about her, Patrick. She came from Donnacha O'Brien's.
Yeah, she came from Donnacha O'Brien, who's done a great job with the filly. Got black type with her, which is always important. She always had that residual. She was a Havana grey filly, and she was a beautiful physical. As soon as she arrived on the complex, she sort of took everyone's eye, and we even posted her on social media, and a few people got in contact straight after seeing the video. She just floated along, but I suppose she had that unique quality that she had a pedigree, the physical, and she had racing value. So she hopefully will race on in the owner's new colours of Elwick Stud, and hopefully she'll go on to do good things for them. But she's also got that huge broodmare potential, being a daughter of Havana Grey, but also having a bit of pedigree and always having that black type to revert back to.
I'd imagine you guys get a big kick out of, you know, when you've sold a horse and you know it's a nice horse, and then it goes and does exactly what it says on the can and actually proves on the racetrack. I mean, you must get a big kick out of that.
Yeah, that's what we all do it for. Obviously, the few minutes in the ring are kind of where we're really involved, and that's the pressure on for us. But we look forward to going on, seeing that those graduates go on and hit the racetrack, because that's what we're doing it for. And hopefully we can see a few in the winners' enclosure over the coming months.
And fair to say your biggest graduate in 2026 so far is probably the Derby winner, Christmas Day.
Yeah, pretty cool. It's not everyone gets to say that they've sold a Derby winner, so we're only a small part of his story, and the breeders did a fantastic job with him and produced him to a hugely high standard, and made our job nice and easy to sell him at the ring at Tattersalls. But it's been great to follow his career, and cheer him on at Epsom was pretty special. So hopefully we'll have a few more Derby winners in our time, but it's pretty cool to tick one off for now.
And just to go back to Nishapur, who you obviously mentioned earlier and stood here, and his breeder, the Aga Khan, the late Aga Khan, that operation, their bloodlines have been very instrumental in you continuing to develop what has now become very much a Lanwades family, that of Al Rukaba. And her beginning here, if you like, also goes back to Sonia Rogers, and I know you both had an interest in her when she was being sold by the Aga Khan studs. And she has founded an incredible dynasty here, which brings in so many of your major winners.
For years I was looking to try and purchase a female of that family, and many, many years I tried, and they were always outside of my grasp financially and so on. And in 1983 or so, it could have been, I found a filly called Al Rukaba in the December sales, and she was by Crystal Palace, from that very Mumtaz Mahal family. Anyway, I went to surreptitiously look at her. She was trained by Sir Michael, then Mr. Stout, and she was a plain girl with a very plain head, a notable Roman nose head, grey, and with a really noticeable tendon on the left fore, which suited me admirably. And she had won a race at Brighton, I think it was. Mm-hmm. But I thought the tendon was the attraction for me, because it meant that nobody would want to buy her for racing. I bided my time and went to Keeneland November sales with my great friend Sonia Rogers. And when we parted, she said, "Oh, what about the December sales?" Well, I said, I don't think there's anything in the December sales of interest. Really? Well, I said, there might be one. Oh, she said, what one? Well, I said, you wouldn't be interested, I don't think. Is she grey?
Oh dear.
Yes, she is grey. So we had both found the same filly, and we decided obviously not to bid against each other. And we were debating what she might be worth, the filly, and Sonia valued her much, much higher than I did, and in any event I didn't have the means and so on. So we had a complicated arrangement whereby we would go halves up to a certain amount, and then if the filly went for more than that, Sonia would buy her in her entirety.
Okay.
And as it turned out, we bought her for one bid over the reserve, which was 18,000. And so we owned her together for the duration of her life. The arrangement was that she spent 2 years in Ireland, then 2 years with me, and so on. She did that all her life. And she bred 8 winners, I think, and she did incredibly well in that. Most all of her produce, bar 2, were fillies. So that was an immense help. It widened the family greatly. She had 2 good fillies, both by Darshan. Ricola, who was a stakes winner, finished 3rd after an unlucky run in the Irish Oaks. And the full sister was Alouette, who trained by Jim Bolger for me and him. We were joint owners. And she was 3rd in the Moyglare Group 1 on her debut. Wow. Which is
it's an ambitious debut for
yes.
Mr. Bolger.
And she eventually took her till a 3-year-old autumn days to win a listed race, which she did. She won the Oyster Stakes at Galway, listed. But before that, she had danced every dance, English Oaks, Irish Oaks, I think from memory, Yorkshire Oaks, and so on. And she was always there and there or thereabouts. She was a gutsy filly and very pretty as opposed to her dam Al Rukba. And anyway, so Alouette, at the end of her racing career, she came back to Lanwades, and her first mating was with Alzeo. And she had a very pretty filly, grey, who unfortunately damaged her left hind pedal bone as a foal. And in those days I was selling all my yearlings, but obviously I could not present this filly as a foal at the sales. So I kept the filly, and she was trained for me by Sir Mark Prescott. Her name was Alborada. She won the Champion Stakes twice as a 3- and 4-year-old, and she was champion 3-year-old filly of the world intermediary distances on the international classifications. So she was the beginning of me being able to keep a few more fillies in training. And a couple of years later, her own sister, Albanova, also trained by Sir Mark, became a triple Group 1 winner in Germany. Sir Mark was actually champion trainer in Germany without ever having set foot in that country. And later still, Albanova's granddaughter also became a multiple Group 1 winner. So the family has stood me in very good stead and produced winners all over the world.
And you might reasonably have felt, and I'm sure you did for many years, that Alborada was your crowning glory as a breeder.
Yes.
Horse of a lifetime,
yes,
probably.
Yes, she was.
But little did we know that through her sister, in fact, you would end up with one.
Another horse of a lifetime.
Even better, yes, in Alpinista.
Yes, absolutely. I've been unbelievably fortunate to have had 2 horses of a lifetime, and so I'm sure that'll be it for my part, but you never know. Alpinista, she's of course fairly recently retired, and I always say she is the one who can do nothing wrong. So she's had a foal a year since her retirement. She's got a 2-year-old filly by Dubawi called A la Montagne, and she's with Sir Mark. She's got a yearling colt by Study of Man, a colt foal by Siuni. She's back in foal Study of Man. So she's absolutely wonderful and can do no wrong.
Meanwhile, back in Yorton, we felt the adrenaline of foaling when David got a phone call while 15 minutes away from the yard fixing some fencing.
Okay, we'll come now. Okay, good. We've got a mare foaling. Yeah, okay.
Seconds old foal just arrived.
Yeah, about 5 minutes ago. Lovely little colt foal by postponed out of Etoile.
Was it a pretty straightforward arrival?
Very straightforward, yeah, very easy. She's been very good to do. Yeah, very good.
Not
for
the
easy.
mare's first rodeo.
No,
anyway,
she's an old pro, bless her. So I'm going to just try and get some milk from her now, just to try and test the colostrum, just to see if we need to give the foal some extra colostrum, just to give it a good head start. So a good colostrum would be quite thick, almost yellowy texture, almost like a bit like a custard, and quite sticky. The mare's colostrum was sort of borderline, not really good enough, so we've just got this colostrum out of the freezer from another mare from a previous foaling, and this is 35%, so it's going to have much better antibodies and give him a much better chance of fighting off any infection.
So this is quite literally his first
This is his
meal
first
in
drink.
life.
Yeah. And he's enjoying it.
Whilst the colt found his feet, Berta showed us the post-foaling routine checks on Lady of the Valley and her day-old golden horn filly.
The good thing is with maiden mares, they're often absolutely in love with their foal. So you always try to keep the foal inside of the mother, and that you can touch it and see nothing happens when we're handling it. That's okay.
Cute.
So what are you listening for with the stethoscope? Is that just sort of heart rate and?
You do listen to the heart, make sure there are not any hereditary heart murmurs or anything abnormal, that it's a rhythmic heart rate, and then we just check the lungs and the guts, make sure that it's all working well and sounds okay, and then you specifically look at the eyes as well. Sometimes they can be born with a glaucoma, so you have a look in the eye, and then you check the mouth if there's anything, if they've got a soft palate issue, if there's any milk running down the nostril. That gives you an idea if there's everything okay inside the mouth area or not. And then Lara will also take a little blood sample of the foal. This is literally just to make sure the foal has taken enough antibodies in with the first milk of the mare. Different to humans, the placenta doesn't let antibodies through in horses, so the first milk of the mare is the most important milk for the foal because it's full of good antibodies. That's a good girl.
She's a very good mum, isn't she?
She is a great mom, isn't she?
And that's it for episode 2 of the Bloodstock Files, and what an episode it has been, from covering to foaling and everything in between at Yorton Farm. The incredible story of Kirsten Rousing and her iconic Lanwades family, and a look inside this year's July sale, including the latest Tattersalls auctioneer, Thomas Connolly. See you next time on the Bloodstock Files.